We
Good
here, man.
good evening, everybody. We appreciate everybody for stopping through, man. It's first show of the Backyard Blitz, man. It has been a long time coming. It's a blessing. I'd like to give
Hmm.
a special shout out to our special guest, undisputed champ in the building. That man is a goat. Been working all week long.
I appreciate it. I
So what's
appreciate
going
it.
on, Darrel? How you feeling today?
Shoot, I'm good. Less highly favored as always. Ready to get into talk about something that me, Rodney, obviously me and you talk about on a daily basis, during football season. So we ready to, show it out to the world as long with our brother Champ.
Yes. Let's
Hey,
go ahead and get into that first topic. Recapping of the Super Bowl and Mr. MJ Mahomes himself. Oh my God. Do you not know how I was not mad, but I was just like, how did this keep happening? How? Another game winning drive put into his hands.
And you would think teams would like learn from the past from other teams not to keep letting it happen.
yeah, but the thing is with Kyle Shanahan, I don't know if I'm the only one who noticed this, or maybe I'm just thinking too much. Didn't he have them, was it the 49ers in the red zone with 2 minutes to go?
Yep.
Kansas City only had two timeouts. And instead of running the ball on 3rd and 4, when Christian McCaffrey was going for it, up until that point, he had at least 3.6 yards a carry. He elected to try to get cute and run that bootleg.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
So Kyle Shanahan, I mean, I don't know how many times you have to learn. In the great words, how we say it down south, what's your learning curve? A flat line? Because the thing is, you have one of the best offensive linemen on that left side, Trent Williams. You have the best back in the league that we've seen arguably since LaDainian Thompson and Marshall Faulk. Why aren't you not running the ball in that red zone in order to run out that clock? Now, if you do that if you get the first down with 2 minutes to go, then the Chiefs have to call another timeout. You can run out, and then the clock is gone. Clock's gone. Even if you get that first down, it's over with. You can kick that field goal. You on your way back to the Bay with a Super Bowl championship. The quest for 6 is over. But instead, as usual, you have to be arrogant. You have to be cute, and you have to pass the ball. Like Jimmy Johnson used to tell the Dallas Cowboys when he coached them, don't be pretty, be good. So that is the problem with Kyle Shanahan. And what the funniest part is, I don't think people understand this. That zone blocking West Coast offense was specifically designed to make running backs great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They just I don't know what it was, man. It looked like a lot just the air out of the stadium just got sucked out completely. Every back to back field goals. I'm like, what? Why we not running the ball? Y'all been doing so good, and then the defense just caved in at the end of the game. When everything, all the chips is on the line, we put our best unit on the field, and they just weren't there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I would say too, like when Greenlaw, like once he went down with that non-contact injury, to me, I felt like that kind of hurt them because he started off that first quarter hot for that team, and he set the tone for that defense. Because you realize the first two drives were 3-and-outs for Kansas City, and he was the one making the big stops.
it
But
wasn't just him, though. It was a
Bosa
combination
was
of all
putting
of
pressure on too. I will say that Bosa was putting pressure on him too. But
them.
Greenlaw was making some pretty key stops in those first two drives.
I mean, when you're able to get pressure with only 4 people, that's just impressive.
Yeah.
They weren't sending blitzes. They didn't have to. And then at the end of the game, we decided we want to start blitzing, which was very weird for me. I was like, why are we blitzing? You had a zero blitz. I don't think that was supposed to be a zero blitz. It was not a good play call.
Not a
Defense.
good play call at all. Not a good one at all.
Yeah. And I was just like, that doesn't make sense. You were able to get pressure with just 4 of your best rushers on the field. That's it. You didn't need to do anything more other than keep Kelsey off the ball and keep Pachenko contained, and you kind of had Pachenko contained, and you had Kelsey kind of contained for a little bit of the game. I mean, eventually he's going to get off a little bit, but he didn't show off like he would normally do.
Because he had what in the first half? He had what one catch for 1 yard in the first half?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a non-factor in that first half. And that they understood that was a recipe for disaster if they didn't get him in the game, because his excitement, his energy, and his ability to extend the play is crazy good.
Another thing I don't understand is, like I said, I don't understand why the talking heads on TV saying that, and it's kind of crazy because it's just like now you're nitpicking at a certain point. Why wouldn't you kick the ball off in order to start the overtime? Who in their right mind does that?
Yeah.
I mean, you must be on the scarecrow's gas if you think that was wise.
Well, I kind of depending on how you look, if you look at it, why would I want the game to end with one of the best players in the NFL with the ball in his hand? That part right there makes me feel like I should have probably kicked the ball off and made him start it off, and we end it. Because we have the best running back. You haven't stopped him all day.
But
we got Debo. We got Ayuk. We got Kittles. We have the recipe to get down the field.
Which
I would rather the ball be in my hands at the end of the day than let him have the ball in his hands.
Which I get, but we also, I don't know if y'all heard what Shanahan's response to that was. He said he wanted to start off with ball because he felt like, my offense was on the bench for a while. If we get going, score, he basically already said he knew his defense was tired and was going to get scored on regardless. So he already said, look, I want my offense to get ball first so we can score, because we know the Chiefs, they're going to score, so we get the ball back. So when we just kick the field goal, that's the game. That's basically what Shanahan's plan was, but it backfired to where, as Rodney, you feel like, put the ball in the Chiefs' hand first and put the pressure on them first, since you arguably got the best defense in the league overall.
Yeah, I agree with you. We got a comment real quick. Mr. Anthony B. I think they asked for the ball because if they scored and Kansas City scores, then the next score wins all they had.
Yeah,
they had to do was get a field goal range, and I agree with you that would make sense. But I mean, as they just said, the offense been off the field. The defense is tired. If I go ahead and put if you already feel your defense is going to give up a score, let's give them that score first, and then let's get our offense out there and let's make something happen. Let's get some creative plays in there. Let's move the ball around and get them a little fast pace, a little pickup, something to get their defense off somewhere so we can make plays somewhere down the field and get them out of their comfort zone. Like
the thing that just kills me about the whole situation was like, so you try and be cute and go for that pass. It would have been fourth down. Like you guys said, just run the ball, because even if you don't get that fourth down, you have Kansas City pinned back behind their own end zone, and it's going to be harder for them. But instead, you just elect to kick the field goal, and you give them good field position, and then Mahomes just does what Mahomes does.
Yeah.
He just magic Mahomes at that point.
And let's not even mention, like I said, they are not even in that position if he runs the ball with 2 minutes left on 3rd and 4. They're not even in that position.
Yeah, they don't have the time for that. They don't have
the time for it because, like I said, they only had 2 timeouts. Kansas City did, outside of the 2-minute warning. So if you run that ball, whether you get it or not, that clock's ticking. I mean, especially if you view it like this, especially if you view it as 4-down territory. If you view that as 4-down territory and you run it twice with Christian McCaffrey, then hey, you're bound to get it. He's been going for at least 3.6 yards a carry the entire game. I mean, that's a Pete Carroll-esque mistake. So
I mean, you can say that, but even Pete Carroll messed that up in the Super Bowl.
Oh,
yeah, that's why I call it a PTR mistake.
That was the biggest.
You have to. And my thing is, you can make the argument that Christian McCaffrey is a little bit better than Marshawn Lynch. You can make the argument because the thing is, he's a lot more deadlier in the passing game than Marshawn Lynch is. He's a hell of a lot more deadlier in the passing game. Yeah. Now, as far as just pounding that rock, Marshawn Lynch. All around, CMC. Like I said, he's Roger Craig 3.0. So you run that ball, you have no. I mean, go back and look. Go and look at the teams. Go look at them 49ers 80s team and look how comparable they are to this team. And it's the same offense. The only difference is this version of the West Coast offense runs zone blocking, and the regular West Coast they run a different blocking scheme. But zone block, but they put the spin on that with the zone block as it evolved. But the whole thing you got to do is run the ball. That's what these coaches don't understand. I mean, and that's what's been plaguing the NFL, I think, all year long. You don't want to run the ball because you realize you're going to have to pay these running backs. But you're not realizing you're putting your quarterback more at risk by not running the ball. We had almost 11 quarterbacks injured this year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, and with all those quarterbacks being hurt, this is arguably, people can say what they would like about what Cam Newton said. This is probably the most mid-year for a quarterback that we've ever seen. Every other year in the NFL the past decade, we've seen quarterbacks at least throw for 40 touchdowns. If you wasn't getting up there past 35 touchdowns, you wasn't in the MVP conversation. Look at the past couple of years with Patrick Mahomes dating all the way back to Kurt Warner's days. You wasn't eclipsing that. You wasn't in any type of MVP conversation. This year was the only year we was not for certain who the MVP was until almost the last week. And if you really want to be honest about it, stats, when historians go back and look at this season, they're going to view this as a very, very mid-year. They're going to have to go back and watch the tape because Lamar Jackson was the first quarterback in order to win the MVP without placing top 10 in no statistical category. So they're going to have to go back and that.
Of course. I got two comments from Anthony B over here. But they also could have stopped them on the fourth down, but they let Mahomes keep the ball and run for 20 yards. I think that was probably because of the play call that they called. I think a few snaps before where they blitz and then they kind of messed themselves up because he threw it. So it was kind of like, oh, what do you do? Like, it's not. I don't feel like it was the players. I feel like a lot of it was play calling on the defensive side of the ball at the end of that game. It was terrible play calling.
That play calling really screwed up their defensive coordinator because he just got fired. So
a lot of defensive coordinators got fired this year. My boys included. Jesus, Lord. Why does everybody think that Burrow's gonna be the guy to stop Mahomes? I have no clue why they think that.
It's not happening. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It's not happening. I think people are on the hype train of what happened a couple years ago when Burrow and the Bengals beat Mahomes to play the Rams in the Super Bowl. But I think people are just stuck on, that season that they feel like Burrow could just wake up out his sleep and be the kryptonite to Mahomes. Because if we remember, that Bengals team did not have a good offensive line that season. And they got exposed in that Super Bowl by Aaron Donald.
Yeah, not to mention that they didn't have a good – not to mention what's hurting Joe Burrow is they get off to these very, very slow starts, and then they have to catch up during the remainder of the season. And when you get knocked on your behind every other down with that weak offensive line that you have, that's not going to work, especially in this division. Because if you look at this division now in the AFC North, I mean – there's no telling what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to do at the quarterback position. I mean, it's up in the air. And depending on what they do, you might find yourself on the outside looking in once again when it comes to the Steelers. Because, hey, Pittsburgh stays down. I mean, making the playoffs every year and losing is considered down for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, so let's just get that out of the way. They're not based upon playoff appearances. They're based upon Super Bowls. They call them Sixburg for a reason. So, and they're addressing every single need at their position, and they still have a top defense. So you bring in a good game manager, they're gonna shoot right to the top, especially with the coaching by Mike Tomlin. So I mean, and you cannot afford to not have a good offensive line in that division, especially when you're facing the Baltimores, the Pittsburgh Steelers, just to name a few. I mean, that's just the guys in your division. So you have to get that offensive line and step that up because.
And the Browns defense in that division, they're slowly creeping up to trying to, be in the top in that division.
Yeah, right. Their issue is offense when it comes to
they get that right piece on offense to go along and stay healthy.
What's plaguing them is the quarterback.
Yeah, they should have been the team to try and get. I would have tanked to get Caleb Williams if I was the Browns. Shoot.
You might want to look at some things before you go into next year because Deshaun has been terrible. I think the best he ever looked was right before he got hurt when he led them down in order to get that last second field goal. Then he got hurt. So you're suspended for the first year. You stink the next year, and then you're not available. Then you have a bad year. Then you halfway stink the third year. Now you're not available. It's just some tough questions. Hey, you got to start asking yourself if you're the Cleveland Browns, is it time to eat that contract or I don't know.
You know what's going to be crazy, though? I feel like it's going to come up is like, what we saw with the running backs when, players like Ezekiel Elliott and, what's his face, Todd Gurley, when they got good high contracts as running backs, and then everybody said, nah, that running back market, they getting hurt too easily and it's going down. That could be said the same for quarterbacks if the same thing that happened this past season becomes a continuous factor.
I don't think it's going to be a continuous factor.
Well, you're starting to get more mobile quarterbacks. So you're going to start seeing GMs probably be like, we can find a mobile quarterback in this draft.
But if you have the right coach to contain that mobility, like you have to, like you look at Dak. Dak was considered a mobile quarterback, but he only used it when he necessarily needed to.
Right.
Lamar, on the opposite hand, he uses it all the time. This is why he possibly will get hurt eventually.
I think this year he changed it up though. He used it when he needed to because the game I went to, I watched him carefully. He ran when it was needed to run, but when it came to like throwing, if he wasn't under pressure, he stayed in the pocket. But he ran when it was needed. And that AFC Championship game, I don't want to talk about that. Let's not talk about that AFC.
But that's learning how to coach mobile quarterbacks and how to use them properly. Most coaches don't know how to deal with that, and then you get a quarterback who just runs whenever.
Well, Todd Monken should have been used to coaching mobile quarterbacks. He just got through coaching Stetson Bennett, the 2 national championships up there in Georgia. So, I mean, you are used to dealing with a mobile quarterback, maybe not in the capacity that Lamar Jackson is in, but you're used to dealing with a mobile quarterback that can get you some yards with his legs. Stetson Bennett was no joke. I'm a Georgia fan, so I'm well aware of how Stetson Bennett was able to maneuver his way up and down that field. So, I mean, for you to go from there and for you to get Lamar Jackson, arguably one of the most gifted quarterbacks we've seen as far as being a running quarterback is concerned, and then when you get to the NFC Championship, you don't do your forte. Todd Monken, you came from Georgia. What does Georgia do? They run the ball. If you can't find a running back anywhere, you can find one from Georgia. You don't believe that? Just ask Mike Shanahan himself. He took 3 of them out of Georgia.
Yep.
I mean, Terrell Davis, Garrison Hurst, and Orlando Scary. So, I mean, it's not that hard to stick to your guns. I think that they was trying to, in Baltimore, was trying to out Patrick Mahomes, and that was to their detriment. How are you the best rushing team in the NFL? You only throw the ball, you only run the ball 13 times.
Yeah, they went out of what they're supposed to have done, and that's what lost in that game. You can't play another team's game. You have to play your game and play your game to your best ability.
And they had everyone back healthy too.
PSP. Appreciate the love, man. Appreciate the love, world champs in Columbus, Georgia.
Shout out to Columbus, Georgia.
Oh, man. Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
My home away from home. I ain't gonna lie to you. Man. But so what do y'all feel the 49ers need to do next season? Going into this offseason? What do you think that they need to do? What do they need? Where do they need help at? Because I don't see very many places they need help.
For a start, they need a new defensive coordinator.
Well,
let's get that out the way. For starters, they need because
he didn't get off the plane good before they fired.
they said he was done.
He didn't get off the plane good. Like, bro, like, damn,
they didn't even hesitate with that man.
He didn't get his clothes off before they fired him. They probably fired him in the shower.
He wasn't even done. He wasn't even done sobbing.
Yeah, he probably put his bags at home, just dropped them down, sat on the couch. Was like, yeah, baby, it was a long game, and then got the call. Oh yeah, you
know you fired, right?
You out, bro.
We gotta find somewhere else to live, babe.
But they need defensive back, and hey, just never know, man. I mean, these last 3 quarterbacks that San Francisco had, no disrespect to Colin Kaepernick, but these last 3 they went to the Super Bowl with, they ain't exactly Steve Young or Joe Montana. So you're gonna need some defensive backs, and you might need to look at to see who's gonna drop to that second round in the draft, to see if Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. gonna drop in that draft. To see if
I'm gonna tell you right now, Bo Nix is not dropping. Michael Penix may, but Bo Nix is not dropping.
Yeah, you might want to see if one of them drop though, because I don't see them.
I don't think that Purdy was the issue. I mean, Purdy played a very good game. No interceptions, no fumbles. 255 yards on 23 or 38. He played a pretty good game.
But one could argue, hey, he played a pretty good game, but so did a lot of players play pretty good games. That's why Jared Goff is in Detroit instead of LA right about now, because he played pretty good, not good enough. So I mean, and Los Angeles was smart enough to see that he played good enough throughout that season, but it was not enough in that Super Bowl. So guess what? Time to rack your losses and get a world beater in there. You're not going to – I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. Unless you have that air specialty type guy, you're not going to win very many Super Bowls with teams like this. I mean, with a team like this, it's win or go home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, otherwise this franchise is going to blow itself up again. And then what do you have to show for it? I mean – you good at everything else. You good at the linebacker position. You good at the defensive line. You are good at running back. I mean, O-line is pretty good, but you still have some holes to address outside of Trent Williams. I mean,
the inside was getting punished.
Yeah, inside is getting punished, but you have to address O-line, safety, DBs.
That's the same thing Anthony B just said. Hey, appreciate
you. Might want to address the quarterback position as well to see, because there's been history in the 49ers these last 3 quarterbacks. You make it to that Super Bowl and the league all of a sudden catches up with you. It happened with Colin Kaepernick. It happened with Jimmy G. You got to wonder, is it going to happen with Brock Purdy? Like, is the league going to catch up with you finally?
The crazy thing about it, though, was like, the thing with Brock Purdy that was like so annoying, and I knew that it was going to happen when the season started, about him being in an MVP conversation, when we all 3 of us know he had no business being in that MVP conversation, because he's not a game changer. He's just a facilitator. There's game changers like Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, those guys, and there's facilitators that can facilitate the offense if they got the weapons around them, like Brock Purdy, Tua, like guys like that.
We can't even include Tua in that conversation.
Well, yeah, because I mean,
but to Brock Purdy's credit, I've said this on everybody's podcast. If anybody could do it, anybody would. We've seen guys with a plethora of weapons, and they just couldn't come through it.
What did Cam say about Brock Purdy?
He said Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, and Tua were game managers. not game changers. And he was right. All of them sitting at home without a championship right about now. Tua, he didn't even get up off the ground in Kansas City. He was right. So, I mean, Cam Newton was owed an apology from the get-go. Like I said on an earlier podcast, I said this on the person show. I'm not so sure who I said it on. The quarterback play leading up to that point that he said it was so mid at a certain point, you have to wonder, was these networks under pressure to say something and clap back to say that that's not true, because all of these mid-tier quarterbacks was kind of an MVP conversation when they had no business being in there.
Oh, I knew all these shows were talking about these quarterbacks, trying to hype it up. I knew the moment when they said Daniel Jones was a top 10 QB last offseason. That's when I knew they just hyping it up. That's why I knew it was a hype.
They actually said that?
Yeah, on NFL Network. NFL Network, they they had him as a top 10 QB.
Which I can't believe.
I'm a Giants fan. That's why Rodney laughing too. I'm a Giants fan, and I'm saying that.
Never knew what they thought about that. He had a good season the year before, but
he was a game manager for us. That was it.
But when the pressure's on, man, you can't do nothing.
Yeah,
you cannot do nothing. Like you got these talented DNs and defensive tackles, linebackers coming at you, and you just called hype. Why are they already here?
I mean, that pocket is collapsing a hell of a lot faster than it was when we was younger. I mean, I'm not so sure how old you gentlemen are at this point, but there was one Lawrence Taylor back in the 80s. Now there's damn 10 of them in the league.
Oh, man.
So I'm just being honest. I mean,
one of them in Dallas.
There was one Lawrence
Taylor. Rodney, stop, bro. He's not on the level of Taylor. I'm sorry.
He needs to look. The only problem I got with Micah Parsons, I like Micah Parsons. He needs to learn how to play the run.
Agreed.
So that's the thing I have with Micah. But like I said, back in the 80s, there was one Lawrence Taylor. Now those pass rushers are getting to the quarterback just as quick as he was, if not quicker.
Yeah.
And you got to think about it. Lawrence Taylor wasn't even at 100% if you get my drift during those games, doing half the game. So you got to think about it. If he was really, really at 100%, if you get my drift, how he would have been. But I digress. But yeah, back then there was only one or two guys that you really had to watch on that defensive side of the ball. It was like one or two guys. I mean, and the Chicago Bears, but
him and Carson both was wrecking offenses.
Yeah, not to mention y'all had Harry Carson too, man. One of the best goal line linebackers there ever was.
Wreckage.
I mean, since then they ain't really had no linebackers. So, Since then they ain't really had linebackers.
Bobby Okereke, that's the only news linebacker we got.
No linebackers in the Giants since then. No more linebackers.
Bobby Okereke, that's the most recent one we got. That's it.
Antonio Pierce. I think the other guy, I forget the guy's name, who had all the sacks this year.
Who? Kayvon?
Yeah. Kayvon's doing pretty good.
Y'all
always did.
He had 11.5 this year.
On defensive line, though.
Yeah, their defensive line always pretty
defensive line
decent.
Always been good, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Oshie Umenyiora, Pierre Paul, we've always had.
Yeah. And then now with Chris Canty was real good. I mean, people don't remember one guy. I used to be a big fan of Leonard Marshall. Remember Leonard Marshall? The back doing the Lawrence Taylor days.
I just told my age by that look I gave you.
Well, it's all good, man. Like I said,
before everybody time, except for Chip.
Yeah. Oh, the old head on here.
We do history lessons on Backyard Blitz too.
Say again.
So we do history lessons here on Backyard Blitz too.
Always. You saying PSP? You talking about Parsons? He need to be an outside linebacker. I like him at outside linebacker. I can't lie to you.
Yeah,
you give him opportunity to go both. But
do you think if they use him as like Khalil Mack, do you think he succeed then?
They just straight moved him to the end. They moved him straight to the end. And
okay, we moved straight to the end. Okay,
which is why I think a lot of people were upset during. I don't know if y'all saw when they announced the Pro Bowlers. A lot of people were upset because they were like, "Why didn't he get announced as a D end?" and a lot of people forget he's an outside linebacker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because we don't run the 3-4, we run 4-3, it doesn't seem that way.
Yeah.
Well,
we're gonna see if things change now since Quinn's gone.
Well, to be honest with you, doesn't he play like the elephant position?
Well, what was it? Last year,
he
played everywhere.
Yeah.
But this year, I don't know. They just kind of had him, hands down.
Okay. He played more the elephant position last year. I think they should have kept him at the elephant last year. So.
Agreed.
Yeah.
They created so much chaos because now you have to find out where he is. And it gave everybody else who's not a strong rusher an opportunity to get to the pass rush, get that pass rush. But here, it's like he's over here on the right side. Why is he all on the right side the whole time?
Yeah.
It didn't look great. PSP also said, "Do you think Caleb Williams should be drafted by Chicago?" Of course we do.
Yeah, of course.
No,
but I feel like a team's going to trade a draft with Chicago to get him, though.
You got to give up a king's ransom for the number one pick. I'm sorry. I don't think anybody's planning on doing it.
But I'll tell you, gentlemen, something that I always say on every single show I go on. The quarterback can't throw on his back. They don't have no offensive line. None.
But anybody else is going to draft. Anybody else trying to go up and get them don't have an offensive line either. That's the reason why they're up there.
Yeah, but that's why I'm asking for the King's ransom so I can get some guys in there. I'm looking at because if I'm Chicago, I'm looking at an Olu Fashanu from a Penn State or a Joe Alt from a Notre Dame, two of the best left tackles in college football. So I'm looking at those two guys saying that, hey, who do I need better at this point? Do I need a quarterback, or do I need to take another flyer on a quarterback, or do I need a line?
I feel like they could go line and then grab a quarterback second round. Because I feel Penix is probably end up gonna fall down because nobody really believes in Penix.
Yeah. Well, and if they grab him, then hey, you got him right behind Caleb, right behind Justin Fields, just in case he don't work out. Hey, air raid system, throw him on in there.
Yeah.
Everybody forgetting about Daniels too from LSU because he's even higher than Penix too right now. Like I think they said in the mock draft, I think maybe Washington maybe trying to go after him.
Yeah.
Or no, Washington's trying to go for Harrison Jr.
Washington trying to go whatever quarterback they can get at this point. However high they need to go, that's where they're going.
Well, Washington trying to trade for Caleb Williams right about now because Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator, and they got rid of Eric Bieniemy, in which I felt like that was a huge mistake at this point. But
that was a beyond big mistake by Washington.
But for Cliff, I don't know how he's going to do as a coordinator I'm just going by what I saw in Arizona. You didn't do a good job in Arizona, and that system didn't work in Arizona. I'm wondering what you're going to do, with this rookie quarterback coming in. He don't have any line. He only has Brian Robinson and a couple of other weapons on that side, but he has no line. So, and then your defense is pretty much, so.
Hey, Champ, you and PSP been talking way too much this week alone. I can already see it. Y'all literally like right behind each other right now. PSP did the same. What about Eric Bieniemy? He just brought what in the world? The same dude over here. That's what we got going on. I love it though. But I don't know too much about Eric Bieniemy, honestly. I haven't looked into him.
Honestly, with Eric Bieniemy, to me, I feel like he's a good offensive coordinator. Like, I'll say that. And I think when he was in Kansas City, what Patrick Mahomes was doing over there, his stock rose because it was like, dang, like, look what that Kansas City offense is doing. And it was like, Eric Bieniemy, he's like the GOAT of offensive coordinators. So Washington was like, yo, we got to get him. And then we see what Sam Howell did with him. Now everybody's like, was it really Bieniemy that was doing the best in Kansas City, or was it really Mahomes?
But we should already known it was Mahomes, though.
But you got to also think about this. Sam Howell did not have an offensive line, and I believe I believe Eric Bieniemy hurt himself a lot doing this year because he didn't use the whole offense.
They didn't have an O-line either.
Yeah, he didn't have a line.
They had a better one than the Giants, so I'll give him that.
Shut up.
I think that
that's why we beat them twice. We beat them twice this year. With our shit O-line, we beat them twice.
But I really think that he didn't use the entire offense. Like Brian Robinson should have been utilized a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that Eric Bieniemy was trying to overcompensate for the passing game, trying to show that I can make a Pro Bowl quarterback out of Sam Howell, and that really backfired on him as well. But my thing is this: you have to understand that you have to use the entire offense rather than just trying to use the passing game. Brian Robinson is a beast.
Yeah.
You have to use him. You have to.
I think because of the fact that their O-line was weak, there's a reason why they didn't really go completely into that. But that would have probably helped them solidify more of their offensive line and the pass game at that. If you go run first, as we're taught in a younger age, they run the ball, then you have that opportunity to run, fake the run, get the linebackers to bite, and you can pass it over their head. We forget the small intricacies in football that help get our teams better. The O-line needs to run the ball. That helps them get that push that they need to propel them to stop people from pass rushing so hard and everything. Not the trade. They trade all their defensive ends. I ain't gonna lie.
Shout out to PSP, man. My guy from New Jersey, man, he did tell me they should not trade Montez. I was saying trade everybody.
Man, as soon as they made that trade,
I was saying trade everybody.
Everybody from Alabama, they'd have traded them. I was like, good Lord, didn't y'all just draft all these cats?
No, I really wanted it. I was talking to PSP. Shout out to PSP again, but I was talking to PSP because I wanted to steal Daron Payne from him and bring it to Atlanta, team him up with Grady Jarrett.
That would
be crazy.
That would have been.
But they re-signed him right after the season was over. That's what I was, because they was talking about Atlanta going after Daron Payne. We wanted Daron Payne to go along with Grady Jarrett. So
I mean, depending on how that contract is, you probably still could.
Yeah, depending, but Atlanta doesn't have a lot of cap space, like up there cap space. We got
I was gonna say, I think Washington got the most cap space in the NFC right now.
$75 million, I think. So, yeah,
who is they gonna pay? What star do they have to really pay?
Terry McLaurin just was doing cardio. Let's be honest, he wasn't really even playing this season.
Who?
I said Terry McLaurin, exactly.
Because he couldn't get the ball.
Exactly. I said he was doing cardio.
You and your quarterback the same height. Y'all can't see each other.
I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see, but Chicago as well. They got over $75 million in cap space. And keep an eye on this team right here.
They can definitely Detroit.
They got over $70 million in cap space, and all of their players are under contract still.
Oh, I'm more worried about Detroit than I am about the Bears and Washington at this point.
Yeah.
Detroit has already got a solid team to add extra good pieces to help them propel a little bit forward, especially since they already made the playoffs. They're going to be tremendous.
But let's not forget, Detroit needs a wide receiver number 2 over there. Like, look, Reynolds, he would be on the bench really. If it wasn't for the stars they got on offense, Reynolds will be on the bench. If they get a pure wide receiver number 2, that offense would definitely be deadly over there.
Well, let's not forget Chicago had the number 1 defense in the NFL when it came to the run as well. So let's not discount that. So
I don't want to go into my rant right now because I know so much more stuff that I want to say. I knew they were gonna re-sign Mike McCarthy. I knew it. I called Darrel that day. I was like, they're not getting rid of Mike McCarthy. They're not.
Well,
I mean, it wasn't his fault in a technicality. The offense did start off slow, but the play calling kept going and they got better and they came a little bit back. The issue was the fact that apparently something about Green Bay, something about Jones that we just cannot stop. This man has had career days on us every time he came into the building. I have no clue what to do with that. There's too much that has to be reworked. Am I convinced that Zimmer is the answer? Apparently, everybody in Cowboys Nation does. I don't. I have no clue. He's been here before.
Still working with the Green Bay Mafia. That's why y'all lost.
I mean, you got to ask yourself this. I mean, if I'm Jerry Jones, I don't pretty much blame him because, McCarthy's contract expires next year.
Yeah, he's on the hot seat anyway.
Yeah, he's on the hot seat. So, and that seat about to burn everything up out you in a minute like Taco Bell. So, I mean, it's going to get ugly in a minute. So, if you don't
got to get back to the playoffs, they got to actually win a playoff.
They got to actually win. And if they don't, you could best believe because, hey, Jimmy Johnson and Bill Belichick are like this. They go fishing and everything, not to mention Detroit, and he goes down there. So you can rest assured. Don't be surprised if you see Bill Belichick in Dallas in 2025.
Honestly, before the season, I think he'll be there before the
season.
He'll
be there the second half of the season.
Let Dallas start off slow. By McCarthy.
I don't think they're gonna start off slow because I don't have no faith in Nick Sirianni. I don't think the Commanders are gonna be that good coming up. And I really think that Dallas is going to get off to a hot start. They got off to a hot start this year, but I think they're going to get off to a hot start. But I mean,
yeah, we got off to it. We started off hot and then cooled down and got brought that back down.
Yeah, you and Philly, y'all both started off hot and then both got cooked towards the end.
Yeah,
we didn't get cooked towards the end. We were still burning at the end.
It was still burning at the end. I mean, I think if they would have won a little bit further in the playoffs, I think that they would have kind of gave Dak the MVP. But I digress.
But he got to truly earn it. He had at least 2 games that he wasn't firing on all cylinders, and that's what really killed him from that MVP race.
Yeah.
The only way he ever gets MVP conversation when he play against my boys.
No.
Yes,
he gets the same conversation when he burns up on Philly.
Yeah, he beat
y'all split that game. Y'all split that series every year.
Yeah, it is.
But back to it. So, with the Niners, yeah, I think the biggest thing for them though, that secondary needs help.
Yeah.
Because when I watched them play against Green Bay, they was getting burnt by Dobbs, all of them. And then they even got burned against the Lions, and they were exposed this whole postseason. If it wasn't for that defensive line, the linebackers like Warner and all them that would cover, that secondary is cooked.
So basically, they get burnt by quarterbacks who can sling the ball and speedy receivers.
Yes.
Do you think that they need a run stopper as well? Because there's a lot of speed on that front seven with San Francisco, but not a lot of girth.
Yeah, they could add some girth. I got you. they can add a big fella in there. They should add at least 1 or 2 big fellas in there. Maybe some rookies or something. But their corner is going to have to need some. The back end is going to need some experience.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need some experience.
Honestly, they kind of in a hole right now too because they got to wonder how they're going to pay Brandon Ayuk on the offensive side of the ball because it's his contract. He got to get a new one. So it's either we pay him or
let him play out this rest of this year and see what happens. Because the thing is,
I agree. Because if he don't do the same thing he did this year, I would definitely be like, all right, man, we're gonna have to have some conversations.
Well, no, they gotta figure out if they're gonna pay him this offseason. That's the thing.
No, he's still on contract.
Oh, he's
still on contract in 2025. So I'm gonna let you play out this year. I mean, I'm not gonna re-sign you again because the thing is, you gotta ask yourself this question. You are surrounded by, I say this, man. You're surrounded by receivers that nobody can double. Your tight end, you can't double him. You have a running back coming out of the backfield. You can't double him.
Well, you got a running back and a free fullback to come out of the backfield.
Fullback. You can't double either. That's one.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're just like the 49ers of the 80s. You can't double because remember, their fullback now is equivalent to a Tom Rathman. Like I said earlier, Christian McCaffrey is Roger Craig 3.0. I mean, Deebo Samuels, you have to wonder how much attention that he takes away. Then you have to worry about George Kittle. You can't necessarily double anybody. You gotta watch everybody on that field.
And I was gonna say, who's it? Jennings too. He showed up.
Yeah, Jennings. Yeah, so you can't really double anybody. Let's put you in a position where you like Julio Jones, and ain't nobody and everybody watching you, or Antonio Brown and everybody watching you, or Calvin Johnson and everybody watching you. Let's see what you do then, because we've seen. And I hate to say this, you're a Cowboys fan, but you know what I'm talking about. Remember when Alvin Harper, he went to Tampa Bay? Remember Alvin Harper went to Tampa Bay? They thought he was going to be a number one receiver.
Don't do it too.
He got injured almost immediately. It wasn't a fact in nowhere. So
why was he so good? Because he had a couple people on the opposite side.
Yeah, I mean, he had Michael Irvin, Jay Novacek. I mean, you had a little bit of everybody. So we've seen
out the back, man. You got way too much talent on that team for you to just magically disappear.
Yeah, and then he went down to Tampa because he had that number one receiver money, and then got lost down there in the sea. So we've seen way too many times where a guy who they deem as a number one turns out to really be a number 2 or 3 when he gets to the situation where he's doubled and he's the focal point of the scheme.
But you know those number ones though. You can tell, you can look at him and see that that's a number one. I don't know why they thought he was a number one.
Well, the thing is this with him, he made a lot of key possessions on third and second down, because they couldn't necessarily get it down there to Michael Irvin. So it was a question of, because remember the NFC Championship game 1993 and 92. Those late game catches went to Alvin Harper, not to Michael Irvin. People think he was arguably one of their most clutch receivers during those 2 NFC Championship games against the 49ers. And even before Deion got there, that secondary wasn't to be played with Tom McDonald and Merton Hanks. So you have to, those key possessions is what got him paid, especially on the biggest stage. I mean, he outperformed the greatest of all time during those games. So for you to get several key possessions and put your team in several positions in order to win the game, of course you're going to be like, oh man, he might be another number one disguised as a number 2. So yeah.
So let me ask y'all this then: is Brandon Ayuk, if he's on any other team, like we know he's wide receiver number 2 here, is he a wide receiver number 1 on any other roster in the league?
For the Falcons, yeah. I'm saying that because I'm a Falcons fan. I'm being biased. I'd love to have Brandon Ayuk with Drake London and see what he does. I mean,
shoot, I would love to have him in New York too. If we
could get I would love him in Dallas. That gives me 2 crazy receivers right there that I can move anywhere on the field.
And crazy part is y'all probably got the cap space to do it.
And not only that, man, y'all got Brandon Cooks too. I mean, Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb. So
Brandon Cooks didn't have the season I wanted him to have.
I mean, he's serviceable. He's serviceable.
But he's very serviceable.
He's very serviceable. But
I think what's going to end up happening is that either he's going to stay, or they're going to move him, or they're going to move Michael Gallup.
Which one would you prefer they move?
I technically prefer Michael Gallup. Even though I love Michael Gallup, I would like to get something back for him, because I have this young receiver behind him in Tolbert that hasn't had an opportunity to be on the field as much.
Okay.
So he hasn't had really a great shot at being on the field as the number 2. He's been sitting there at the number. We brought another dude, so they pushed him back from the 3 to the 4. I'm like, man, he's got speed.
Okay.
A big body. Why are we not using him or utilize him as much as we should? And not to mention that they start using Turpin as a receiver as well, which then pushes him even further down. So I'm like, man, we can't draft a dude in one of the first 3 rounds and don't use him.
So I would like to ask you this: you're a Cowboys fan. If and that's a huge if, y'all don't go too far this year, do you see a possibility that y'all bring in a Bill Belichick with that defensive mind, with some of those defensive players that y'all have, along with the enemy, in order to maximize those offensive weapons that you're going to have.
Well, I see a lot of people leaving or requesting trades if we don't do it.
Okay.
Now, would it help to have somebody like a Bill Belichick in there in the front? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much he got left though.
He'll give you about. I think he's going to give you about 4 to 5. He's not going to give you anything more than that.
All you need is Ford to get his 300 wins that that everybody's talking about.
Hey,
yeah, he was on the 14. I think he's 14 wins away from breaking Don Shula's record.
Yeah,
he could do that almost anywhere.
Yeah, but I think he.
I haven't heard him say. I haven't heard anything. Well, then again, we won't hear anything from him what he wants or what he don't want because it's Bill Belichick and he don't really talk to people.
Kind of want him back in New York. To be honest with you.
No.
Yes.
What I really want is for Jerry to go ahead and retire. That'd be great for me. I feel like he has cursed his team to it's worse at this point, Mike. Man, you messing us up.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you right now, if the Cowboys had just given Jerry Buss ownership, y'all probably still would be doing well. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, that wasn't his fault. I would say a lot of you got to realize down south is the Bible Belt. So
yeah, I know.
That the whole Lakers show wasn't
the Lake show wasn't. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that wasn't going to fly. Although it's still a show. If you get what I'm trying to say, it's like you didn't want Dr. Buss to be a part of the show, but you got Jerry Jones being the show anyway.
Yeah,
but if you really, really think about it, the Dallas Cowboys would still be in trouble because now, you got to ask yourself, are the Lakers ownership right now doing as well as they should?
Nope.
Not really.
No.
So I made a video about that. They won that Christmas tournament earlier in the year, and now,
they were handed that Christmas tournament. Then they won that.
Yeah, and I got a lot of flack for calling it the Christmas tournament too, by the way.
No. Nobody said they were handed that. They shouldn't have been in that. No way.
So let me ask y'all this: for as far as with the Chiefs, do y'all see this becoming a three-peat?
I can see it, but there's going to be a lot of obstacles in the way. That division is a hell of a lot better than it's going to be. You have a hell of a lot better coaching in that division. You're not dealing with incompetent coaching anymore.
Yeah,
you have a national championship coach that just got to that division that is proven. It's not a warning. It's not a question of whether he's proven. He's proven. He's proven on both levels. So it's not. There's no more. Hey, I'm gonna win these games at the end of the season. Then you have Antonio Pierce. The Raiders are gonna get better. Then you have Sean Payton. Depending on what they do, they're gonna get better next year. So this is not gonna be that easy breezy, beautiful division that you're used to seeing. It's gonna be a hell of a lot harder. And I can't wait to see Andy Reid and Jim Harbaugh coach against each other. Is it possible, considering the cap space that they have? Not to mention, possibility of people are saying, a lot of NFL insiders are saying that Patrick Mahomes is going to restructure his contract. Yeah, it's a definite possibility.
Definitely,
It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at all.
But in order for him to get towards that conversation to repeat, he has to restructure.
Yeah,
because they need to bring a receiver in there. They need a receiver he can get the ball to.
And I would draft Blake Corum too.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that would be a good pickup.
The draft always seems to surprise me with some of the people that they have in it. I can't lie to you. You just never know what kind of draft this is going to be. Is it offensive, defensive? They got so many different types of talent in there, and some of them are better than others, and then some of them will shock you and surprise you, and how really good they actually are on that field.
Right.
So,
you know who I think, like, when we talk about this draft coming up, because I'm looking at the mock draft right now. There's a person in here that I would have at least thought been somewhere in the top 10 or 20. And who's that tight end that came from Georgia Bulldogs this year that everybody was raving about?
I don't know. I think it's a white boy too. I can't.
Yeah. Once Champ get back on, he probably
he's really strong. He's talented. He's got some good routes.
And I know because this team is in our division, we both aren't going to see it. But if somehow the Commanders get their hands on him, you don't think that
they got other problems to deal with?
They got that O-line to deal with.
They got O-line they got to deal with. They got to figure out what they're going to do at the back end of their defense. They got too many problems. Tight end is, if he falls to them in a later round, then I would see that being.
I feel like he's going to be a second rounder though, from what teams are looking for right now.
There's a couple teams that could use a talented tight end.
Because
Brock Bowers, my bad. My computer was not working. I apologize, guys.
You good? You good, man?
Yeah, Brock Bowers, and look out for Ladd McConkey as well, because he is a hell of a rock runner from the University of Georgia.
Yeah.
He can play on Sunday. It's just his size. You know, he's only 6 feet 175, but so is Marvin Harrison.
I'm looking at this mock draft for like a lot of teams. They said we may go for a wide receiver, at least the Giants. That's what we're projected to go for. And I don't think that's what we need at the moment right now.
Well, first you need to sign Saquon.
Right. That's what I'm saying. At least get him to – if his agent can freaking accept a deal.
Well, I mean, if I'm the only thing you got, I'm not going to give you a discount. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, if I'm all you got, I call it the Eric Dickerson rule. If I'm all you got on the offensive side of the ball, and we don't have a quarterback or anything, you need to pay me like you got to pay me like I weigh wet with 2 pairs of clothes on. So that's what needs to happen.
Oh, trust me. This offseason, I said we give Daniel Jones the franchise tag and we pay Saquon. And I think that was the original plan that we wanted to do. But for whatever reason, his own side of the team didn't like any of the deals that the Giants offered him, which is where he ended up with that, like, it wasn't really a franchise tag, but it was. They just gave him an extra $1 million to cover it up. But I mean, if anything, we're gonna have to franchise tag him, because if he don't sign that franchise tag, he's gone.
Oh, you talking about Jones?
Saquon.
Well, like I said, this is Eric Dickerson rule. If I'm all you got, I'm not signing the franchise tag.
That's a fact.
I mean, but
if all else fails, I go to the enemy and get paid. Because you can rest assured, Mr. Jones willing to give up some money in order to get to that Super Bowl.
Yeah, we need a running back.
The thing is, like, shoot, if I'm Saquon too, like, yeah, you deserve to pay me, but his mindset, because I paid attention to a podcast where he talks strictly about his money and income. He said if the Giants going to offer me a franchise tag, then I might as well sign it, because I'm trying to be a Giant for life. Because $10 million is still $10 million, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But
if I can go to Mr. Jones and get, I can go to Mr. Jones and get at least 20.
I mean, yeah, that's true. But you gotta understand too, you still got Dak Prescott over there, who's the man. You still got
I have basically just said I'm giving you a better quarterback, a more competent offensive line, a talented receiver, so it's not all on your shoulders.
And you got a hell of it, and you got a good defense. So
and some talented tight ends that are just sitting there chomping at the bit of you being on that field, taking everything away from them. Come on now.
Oh, if I'm him, I'd rather go to Houston.
Oh, of course, if it was you,
Houston,
you're right.
You would say that.
Yeah, yes. That's one thing I hate that we never saw. But that's another conversation for another day.
We talking about money.
The Oilers versus the Cowboys in the Super Bowl.
There's too many teams that are in the championship position that I'm not going to a team that's probably not going to a championship.
No, especially this gonna be the last big contract I get as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's
So
the
I
last one.
gotta pick a right team or pick a team that's gonna give me a championship.
Yeah, because you only gonna get two good contracts when you a running back. So I mean, you got to go somewhere where you're gonna win a championship and you gonna get a good contract as well. Because then you turn 29, that's when everybody's like,
They're gonna look at you the same.
Well, I mean, Derrick Henry, that's the one running back we gonna have to really keep an eye on.
Well, you got to ask yourself how much he has left, because the thing is, he got 1,000 yards, but it wasn't a good 1,000 yards. It wasn't a Derrick Henry we were accustomed to seeing.
It was a quiet season. It was a quiet season for him.
I mean, it was a quiet season in general for the Titans, to be real with you.
Yeah, then Will Levis, he did okay. Yeah. And they fired his coach. But there was a lot of factors that went into that. A lot of injuries. They traded away a lot of their good players. It was a mess.
It still is. They got a lot to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, so
but like you said earlier, we talked about it earlier this week about Jacobs being another candidate there. Jacobs is younger.
Mm-hmm.
And he is just as talented as those two.
Mm-hmm.
He may be the first one off the board.
Well, hold on. Did I tell you, Rodney, or I may have told somebody else? If we give up Saquon, first person I'm going for is Jacobs.
Yep, it was me.
Yeah, first person
I didn't know he was free agent.
Yeah, as the Giants, first person I'm going for. If we say Saquon, we can't get you what you want. Oh, I'm going for Jacobs in a heartbeat. I got to get him over there because I need somebody that has the same play style as you and is younger and is not injury prone to where, we'll expect you to be on the field and stay on the field. Because you got to put in account too, Saquon had a lot of ankle and knee injuries when he was with us. So it wasn't like he was playing full seasons with the Giants every year.
Yeah, but that's the same for every Nittany Lion that ever played in the NFL other than Larry Johnson and Franco Harris. Every last one of them Nittany Lion running backs that went out like wounded lambs at the end of the day.
So I mean, basically the same as Alabama, because just put these boys to the ringer.
I mean, well, Mark Ingram, he was pretty good. I mean, and Derek, I don't think a lot of them got a lot of good opportunities. I don't think TJ Yeldon and Bo Scarborough had good opportunities.
Yeah, Scarborough didn't have a good opportunity.
No, he didn't.
I think he went into the draft too early, and his stock wasn't even high enough. I think he was a late round draft pick, so they weren't looking at him anyway.
So, and then plus he went to the Cowboys, where you got arguably one of the best running backs in the league during his time. So,
yeah.
What up, Cash?
Casual, what's going on?
Yeah.
Doing it big, man. Having some good conversations with my mans here. We doing our thing. So
teach you a little bit about football while you on here for a couple minutes.
So yeah, for the seconds that you about to be on here, because you probably over there playing 2K.
Hey, Casual, but I'm gonna tell you something, man. Casual, but that is the best guy I've ever seen as far as basketball is concerned, man. He's able to break that stuff down to a T. I can't even do that. I mean, when he break down field goal percentages and everything, I'm like, damn, okay.
Hey, you put him and Zeno together, it's like, all right, I wish I ain't say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I be saying a whole bunch of stuff. I ain't got no time for them foolishness.
Shoot, man. But yeah, so I don't know. The Niners, that secondary needs help. That's the biggest thing I feel like they need. They obviously need a defensive coordinator, which this probably was. I know Wink Martindale is probably going crazy because he probably would have gotten this opportunity with the Niners before he went and accepted the job with Michigan.
Yeah.
Because I think he would have fit perfectly for, that Niners defense, because all he liked to do was blitz.
Mm-hmm. See, but that's the thing. When you don't need to blitz, as the 49ers don't need to blitz with their pass rush.
They don't.
They just need to be able to stop the run.
Mhm.
And that's that defensive tackle position that they need to work on.
Yeah, I'll say that was the one thing about Wink Martindale that I've noticed when he was in Baltimore and he was in New York was he blitzed too much, but they never picked up the run because running backs had career games on any defense he was coordinating.
Yeah. So he really, I mean, he could be a good fit if he figured out how to, figure out what he needed to do against the run. Maybe you blitz the run.
Mhm.
I mean, it is certain times that they're about to run the ball. We got a 3rd and 1. He's about to run the ball. It's a guarantee.
I mean,
Especially
his
on
own
a
defense
run.
ain't even work against the Philly whole freaking tush push thing.
I just want to say this: the tush push is now done.
Oh yeah, it's done.
It's done.
It's over with.
We will never see that week after week again.
Tush push.
Because
who gave it that name anyway?
I don't know who gave it.
I don't know, but I'm gonna tell you right now, me and Rodney both was fed up with that tush push.
It's just dumb.
Tush push.
It's just dumb. Like
I mean,
they have everybody there and they still pull it off because of Kelsey.
Yeah, but I don't think he's retiring. I mean,
Yeah.
He retired.
He retired.
Yeah, he retired.
Oh man,
their first draft pick is a center, guaranteed. Mock draft.
Yeah. I mean, their whole offensive line made the Pro Bowl, so I mean,
Lane Johnson
they won't do
need to
it.
retire. Fletcher Cox need to retire. Graham need to retire.
Not even the Great Wall did the Great Wall ever do that?
No, to make everybody make
the greatest line of all time. They never did that.
No, but I think that
had at least two, we had either 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm. Biggest injustice for all of those guys is none of them are in the Hall of Fame. Well, none of the original ones are in the Hall of Fame. That's a huge injustice.
Yeah, but it's hard to really put those type of players in the Hall of Fame because their stats don't come up all the time.
Well, I mean, Nate Newton was a 6-time Pro Bowler. I mean, everybody knew that at his peak he was a beast. I mean, the tape don't lie. I mean,
we agree. I agree with you, but some of these guys nowadays, all they look is at stats, and you don't see pancake stats all the time. How often does he prevent his quarterback from getting to his defender getting to the quarterback? You don't see that often.
Yeah, but the only thing you have to do is type in Great Wall of Dallas, and it'll put greatest offensive line of all time. That's evidence enough. So
yeah,
if that's not evidence enough, and plus we have to get out of the mentality of being stat merchants.
I agree on that. That is the biggest thing I feel like. Well, with any sport, but like especially with football, it's like there's so many other stats that play an impact on teams that the media just throws out the way because the game has been so focused on what the quarterback, the wide receivers, the running back, and what the DBs can do.
Yeah. Because it's flashy.
Right. It's more about flash. It's not about hard-nosed football anymore. It's about how can we make this West Coast – it's all about the West Coast offense if we're being real. Everyone's trying to duplicate it now. You don't see nobody run the ball hard where it's like, we'll throw when we need to, but we're going to run it on you every single time. Unless you're the New York Giants. I mean, yeah, you have to run it because you ain't got no wide receivers. I mean, that's another story for another day. But
hey, at least your coach tried to run the ball, but I'm down here.
We ain't had no other option. What you mean?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. But when you have, when you got a guy down here in Arthur Smith in Atlanta, when you got 2 good backs and you still don't run the ball the way you're supposed to, that's a problem.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
We always been known about playing defense and run the football. When we have who was it? Brandon Jacobs and when we had
Ahmad Bradshaw.
Yeah, Ahmad Bradshaw.
Yeah,
It was
Earth, Wind,
about
and Fire.
we're gonna run the ball every single time, and we're gonna run it down.
Annoyed me the
Y'all
entire time.
always did great when it came to running backs. I mean, you got to think about Rodney Hampton, Joe Morris.
Yeah,
Just to name a few. I mean, had
Tiki
to throw
Barber.
Jordan. Huh?
Tiki Barber.
Tiki Barber.
Upright.
I mean,
That's Mr. Upright.
Miriam. I mean, y'all even had Miriam Butts for about a couple years. So,
Look,
I mean,
Tiki Barber ain't a fan favorite. I'm gonna say that right now. He is
I
not a
don't
fan
know
favorite.
why.
who cares? I mean, I don't understand why fans get so involved in people's
Look, I'm a personally say from my opinion on it, I think Giants fans, it's New York. It's emotional. It's New York. Like, let's be real here.
But Darrel, I don't understand this, and I want you to put this in context for me. You hate Tiki Barber, but you love Lawrence Taylor.
Because
figure that out. I mean,
I'm gonna speak for all Giants fans. I had no issue with Tiki Barber. Okay, I had never had an issue with Tiki Barber, but Giants fans as a whole was like, Tiki Barber, we don't like you because you quit on us before we even made it to the Super Bowl because you had an issue with a young Eli Manning. If you wanted to go to the playoffs so bad and win a chip, why don't you just ask for a trade? That's what the fans are upset about. But the whole, I'm leaving this team because we got a young quarterback. Like, that's why fans are upset. It's kind of like you just quit on us because when we had something good going. Mm-hmm. And then once he left, we won the Super Bowl. So, I mean, it was a win.
And for both of the managers, when the minute they lost their star running back, they went to the Super Bowl. Figure that out.
I just want to say he still left, but still got a championship ring. I just want to point that out.
Oh, Adrian.
He was on the team, gets a championship ring.
Yeah.
So what's the point? Y'all mad at him still get the ring.
He still got a ring.
Yeah, he still got a ring.
But I'm gonna tell you, that's just New York sports in general. New York sports, for whatever reason, if you do something wrong, they gonna hate you for the rest of your life.
Like I said, I don't understand that because they've loved some of the most craziest characters that you ever want to see. I mean, Doc and Darrel is a prime example of that. They used to love Doc and Darrel. I mean, they loved Lawrence Taylor, who was an outlaw.
We love Nick Gates, and we released him and he went to the Commanders. But you still got New York fans who are like, we still love Nick Gates. Yeah, bro, he was trash for us.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's how come I don't get the New York media or the New York anything. Probably not because probably because I'm from Georgia. Blue and red.
It's all about
blue and red don't mix on either side of the spectrum. So I'm just being honest.
It's because we love certain players that grab our attention that we love. DeVito, this is what we love.
How many cutlets?
We love this now. We love that.
He should be your quarterback.
No, for real.
No, I don't know.
Especially since Tyrod Taylor ain't going to be with us next year.
He's had a lot of bad luck in his career. A lot of bad luck.
Injuries really hampered him from being.
It did. When he went to the Los Angeles Chargers, the damn doctor tried to give him a shot in the ribs. Damn, they kill him, and because he put the shot into his lungs rather than his ribs.
Yeah. Hey.
Well, he had a rib injury this year, and then I really thought this was going to be his year, where it was like, all right, you know what, we can't play with Tyrod Taylor, and maybe Daniel Jones, you just gonna have to fight for that starting spot. And then he got hurt against the Jets, and then DeVito had his 3 games of fame.
His Jeremy Lin time.
Yeah, it was his Jeremy Lin time. I will say that.
So let me ask y'all about Anthony Richardson from Indiana.
I've been waiting for this question.
Hey, y'all, what do y'all feel about him? Because I don't know if he's gonna be injury prone or what the case gonna be for him right now.
I don't think he's gonna be injury prone. I think he just had that. He just had what the worst luck of what they always tell young rookie quarterbacks. because obviously he was a runner, like he scrambles a lot. And they told him, hey, protect yourself. Fortunately, he had the bad luck, and I think he'll learn this upcoming season.
It's going to be interesting to see.
What you got, Champ?
I'm just saying, bro.
I think it was a reach to get him at number 3 anyway. He really didn't do a lot when he was in Florida. Him nor Will Levis.
And he wasn't an accurate quarterback at all.
And he wasn't accurate. I mean, I understand people are trying to find their diamond in the rough and trying to find their next Lamar Jackson, who's going to bring fame and notoriety to that team, especially with a team like Indianapolis, But you haven't replaced the great Andrew Luck already. That line is still has a few holes in it, not that many. And, it's going to really depend on if you're able to get him to really be an accurate quarterback. Anthony Richardson wasn't all that when he was at Florida. We was beating on him every week. I mean, like I said, I'm a Georgia fan. We was beating on him every week. So, I mean, and not to mention, they only scored 3 points in that bowl game that he went to.
His combine tape was really not that good either.
This is what teams need to stop doing, man. Stop looking so hard at the combine tape, because when you on that level, everybody's fast, everybody's strong.
Yeah.
So you need to stop looking at the combine tape and look at D tape. Yeah. I don't think some of these scouts look at D tape. I really think, oh my God, and especially with a lot of black quarterbacks, it's like they see that speed and they just get mesmerized. So
you have to look at fast. That's fine.
Huh?
Like, we know he's gonna be fast.
Yeah, we know he's fast. Yeah. So that's what happened, and that's what happens with a lot of black quarterbacks throughout their whole football career. Coaches see their speed and they get mesmerized, and they forget to teach these guys how to pass.
See, but they're not that fast in their pads. You're not running a 4.4 in pads.
No, they're not exactly. And the thing is, I mean, Mahomes run a 4.7. So I mean,
run about 5.5.
But
he ran 5. I give him 5.1.
Yeah, about 5.1 in pads.
That's what they said at the combine. But he ran a 4.7. But my thing is, can you throw that ball? And not to mention, like I said, Anthony Richardson was not an accurate quarterback at Florida. He wasn't very, very good at Florida. And the only difference between him and Will Levis is that Anthony Richardson can make some things up on the fly, and Will Levis could not. I really wasn't sold on either one of them, although they were from the SEC, which I'm an SEC fan, but they were not it. So
Chan, let me ask you this. So, because I think we all kind of agree that the combine kind of like, we understand why they do the combine, but it's like it don't really make the player. Do you feel like they should keep the combine if is it necessary still, or do you think they should change something in it?
They should keep the combine, but make sure they pay attention to the tape. They should keep the combine and get rid of that dumb Wonderlic score, because it ain't proving anything. We saw Tim Tebow have a high score in the Wonderlic, and look what he did. So get rid of that Wonderlic score. We saw Tim Tebow score high, and we saw CJ Stroud score low. So Wonderlic don't mean anything.
Apparently not, because CJ Stroud is an amazing quarterback right now.
Look, if these guys play football. I mean, we see so many guys in the NFL draft not even go in the top of the draft and end up Hall of Famers. Look at what happened with Terrell Davis.
Yeah.
Look what happened with Terrell Davis. Look at what happened with Kurt Warner. Hell, look at what happened at one of the best black quarterbacks of all time. Look what happened with Warren Moon. He wasn't even drafted. We had to go to Canada.
Now look at one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Late round draft pick.
Joe Montana wasn't taken to the 4th round.
Look at Eli Manning.
So
what are we looking at him for?
Hey, man, don't disrespect Eli. No, let's not disrespect Eli.
He was put in there because Peyton was
you can't write the history of the NFL without Eli. So
you don't disrespect Eli, and you know this firsthand.
So you can't disrespect Eli. Luckily Wade Phillips was the coach when he won that Super Bowl. So Wade Phillips was the coach.
Who for Eli? We had Tom Coughlin.
I'm talking about for the Cowboys. Wade Phillips was the coach when y'all beat.
Soft ass Wade Phillips.
It's never a good thing when Wade Phillips the coach. But
it's a good thing when he's a defensive coach.
He's defensive coach.
Head coach, that ain't it.
Head coach.
Nah, he was rubbing it all in, sweeping us in the regular season, and then playoffs came, and then he was like, "Yeah, I forgot how we beat this team."
Yeah, balled up like an ant. So it's crazy.
Same way we always beat y'all.
Can't write the history of the NFL without Eli. So I believe should he go first ballot? But he
should be in.
He's gonna be in there.
Yeah, he's gonna be in there. But it's only a question if he's gonna go for first ballot or not.
He's not gonna be first. He's not Andy Reid. He's
not first ballot, but I'm gonna say I feel like they'll give it to him only because he beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice.
Yeah, Larry said you can't write the history of the league without Eli at this point. So
because remember, they were undefeated before they played the Giants in the Super Bowl, and he was the only team to beat them. Actually, the Giants were the first team in the regular season that almost beat the Patriots. They only lost by 3, and that was the last game of the season going into the playoffs.
And guess what? Y'all didn't even have a game plan that game.
Exactly. We did not have a game plan.
Don't come in with a game plan to beat this team.
When I found that out, I was like, "What the hell? Y'all
did not have a game plan.
Just play home."
Yeah, Byron Strahan. Yeah, we didn't even have a game plan. This is like, really?
Strahan was just doing his same little speech. Stop him out. Stop him out.
Stop him out.
Bruh, like, how I know we didn't have a game plan? When Eli just threw that pass and Tyreek Kine on his helmet. He was just like, man, F it. If he there, he there.
But the thing was, hey, man, that defensive line, one of the most scariest, arguably, in history. That was, it was Uzi, it was Chris Candy, it was Strahan, Justin Tuck.
Then
it was
the
crazy.
you had.
Hey, I knew y'all was gonna win that second one when y'all did one thing in the playoffs. Y'all held my Falcons to 2 points.
Oh yeah,
I knew that. Some dirty birds weren't very dirty.
I was just like, yeah, they finna make some noise. But that year we had everybody. We were stacked that year, so I was like, yeah, they just held us to 2 points. Yeah, they about to do something because 2011, you held us to 2 points. Yeah, it's about to get ugly for whoever they play for the remainder of the year.
But that team, I'm a fan of them, but they piss me off sometimes. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, New York is a model franchise, man. So is Dallas, I will say. Model franchises with a lot of guys. Don't look at me like that. A lot of guys with a lot of. But people could say this, man. Look, people can say what they would like to say, but if the Falcons was going to the playoffs and losing every year, a lot of fans would take that every time. A lot of fan bases would take winning and going to the playoffs and losing in the first 2 rounds, and maybe have a possibility to make it to the championship, to the conference championship. A lot of fan bases would take that every single year. If you ask any Falcons fan, if you ask any Cleveland Browns fans, if you ask a whole lot of other fan bases, Carolina, they would take that because guess what? Their standards is not Super Bowls. Their standards is not going to the championship games. They don't have a lot of these teams don't have a rich history of Super Bowls. So if you ask the average fan base, hey, if I was to tell you we're going to go to the playoffs every year for the next 10 years, and we might make it to the NFC Championship we might make the NFC Championship twice. A lot of them will take that. It's like, okay, it's something for me to cheer about.
Half the teams in the NFL don't even have championships.
Yeah, more than half. My Falcons don't have a championship.
Y'all blew it. Y'all blew it.
Well, not only that one, people don't even understand, man. That 1998 team was great. Jamal Anderson, Michael Hayes, Terrence Mathis, Jesse Tuggle, Keith Brookins, Chuck Smith, Ray Buchanan, Eugene Robinson. Unfortunately, Eugene got into some stuff the night before the game.
I mean, that be happening to teams, man. That be
he was
happening.
Deshaun Watson before Deshaun Watson. So, but I'm sorry. But yeah, but that team was a beast too. They went out there and they didn't do what they were supposed to. I mean, you know, you coming out there. That was arguably one of the most crazy situations I ever seen. You coming out there talking crap to Shannon Sharp, you know, wearing dog collars on the field. That was like, what the heck? Because you got to keep in mind, we beat the 98 Vikings, the highest scoring team in the league that year. We beat them. So, I mean, then we beat the San Francisco 49ers. That was arguably one of the best teams in the NFL that year. So it was like, damn, you beat the 49ers at home. Then you went on the road and beat the highest scoring team ever in the league at this point with Randy Moss. Hell, everybody was slapping hands after we beat San Francisco because he was like, hey, man, we about to go out there and probably get blown out by about 20 because, you know, Moss, you know, that year he was on a tear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everybody was just like slapping hands. It was like, yeah, you know, we're about to go. And I don't think we're going to win, but, you know, it's going to be an all right game. You know, at least we made it. After we got to like the fourth quarter, I'm like, oh, we got a chance. So it's crazy. That 98 team wasn't no joke either. It was just we ran it to Darrel Davis and John Elway.
Let me ask y'all this question. When we talking about quarterbacks, is Mahomes in the GOAT conversation right now?
No.
He's on the outside looking in right now.
I don't put him in that GOAT conversation right now. It's still Brady and Montana for me personally, because the thing is, I don't understand why people move the goalposts. Why did we name Joe Montana and Tom Brady the GOATs during their prospective time? We named them their GOATs during their prospective era because of Super Bowls. We named them that due to Super Bowls. We didn't name them that for regular season accolades. We didn't name them that for MVPs. We didn't name them that for all pros. I understand this is arguably one of the most successful seasons that anybody has ever seen, arguably in history, maybe since the great Otto Graham back in the 60s, back in the 50s, when it was the AFFL. But this is arguably the most successful years that we've ever seen from a quarterback in his first 6 years. And I completely understand that. But the reason why Tom Brady was named the GOAT was because of Super Bowls. The reason why Joe Montana was named Joe Cool was because of comebacks in the Super Bowl. That's what these guys on television have to stop doing in order to move the goalposts for modern day times. He didn't surpass Joe Montana as the GOAT. Brady didn't surpass Joe Montana to the GOAT as the GOAT until he got at least 4 Super Bowls. You have to win Super Bowls. And when you win those Super Bowls, that's when you can take the GOAT conversation as far as you would like. But at this point, Brady, Montana. Now, once he gets 4, I can put him ahead of Joe Montana, especially if he three-peats.
Yeah.
But even if he three-peats, people are going, well, he's the GOAT. No. Super Bowls.
He's still behind the GOAT.
He's still behind the GOAT in Super Bowls. And not to mention, man, I'm going to just be real. The story is parallel. If you really think about it, the only difference is Patrick Mahomes was a first-round pick and Brady was a late-round pick. Because if you really look at the franchises, they're very, very similar. I mean, as far as, going through a lot of pain in the 90s and in the 80s and making it to big games, not really winning them. The story of those two franchises are very, very similar. I mean, had great coaches in Bill Parcells for the New England Patriots, for the Kansas City Chiefs, Marty Schottenheimer, Dick Vermeil, Herm Edwards. So both franchises had coaches, great coaches. They're both, it's like, if you really look at the trajectory of it all, it's like almost parallel, because first 2 Super Bowls, Kansas City played in the first 4 Super Bowls, Kansas City played in 2 of them. They won one and then went for years without winning one. Patriots, they made it to the Super Bowl on 2 other occasions outside of Brady. One in 85, which we know what happened, and then another in 96, we know what happened. So it was just like the same trajectory. Both teams had good teams, but it wasn't until this guy came to town that they finally was able to get over the hump.
Yeah. Which I can't, especially basketball and football, like Brady has a lot more records. You can't deny his records. Patrick hasn't even got close to those yet.
Yeah.
So how do we say that he's in the GOAT conversation and he's not even touching anything that he's done? Yeah, he's gone to these championships. Still got more to go.
Plus, you got to think about this. We've seen plenty of times where a quarterback could get off to a hot start and then fall off. I mean, we saw that with Troy Aikman. First 6 years, boom, 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 Super Bowls, NFC Championship, playoff game. Last couple of years,
Oh, that was also because somebody decided they didn't want to deal with certain people.
Yeah, that's a fact as well. You saw it with you saw it with Brett Favre his first couple of years. First couple of years, we thought he's gonna with the 2 Super Bowls. Then, next couple of years,
I mean, we can say the same thing.
We saw it with Kurt Warner. We've seen guys get off the hot starts, and then after a big game, they lose that one last big game, and it's like, ooh. So we got to see how it's gonna work. Because
I was gonna say we saw the same thing with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, got off to a hot start, boom, boom, and all of a sudden, it's like we got to make sure that recency bias is something else, because that's what we're seeing now, and we don't pay. I mean, and especially today, even though the internet is free, Google is free, everything is free. A lot of the NFL savants, they don't pay attention to history. I mean, people don't even realize, it took Tom Brady 10 years before he got back to the Super Bowl. I mean, before he won another Super Bowl. Yep. Well, he got back to the Super Bowl plenty of times before. Him winning another one, it took a couple more years. You got back to the Super Bowl twice, lost to Eli Manning. So, and they was talking about, well, he hasn't won a Super Bowl since Spygate. Then, went to Tampa Bay and won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that goes into winning these bowl games. Not just, and it's going to be, and to his credit, Brady didn't have a strong division for a number of years.
Yeah.
So that played into him winning as well. This division this year, mark my words, this division is not going to be weak anymore.
No.
One thing about about Harbaugh.
Yeah, not just Harbaugh. You got to think about Antonio Pierce. He has that team playing to an optimum.
He's a player. He's a player's coach, and he literally gets them fired up and riled up.
And then Sean Payton, if Sean Payton won a Super Bowl in New Orleans, you got to think about what they're going to do as well. So
they're going to sling.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No. I was saying they're going to sling the ball around.
This is arguably the most star-studded division as far as coaching-wise is concerned that we're ever going to see. And plus, you have a quarterback in Justin Herbert that can come out there and flat out sling it.
I don't forget that up there in Denver too. Don't look at Russell Wilson like he's done. He's not done.
Yeah, I don't think he's done, but he's not Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson.
No.
But I mean, he can flat out. I mean, and then you got to think about what the Las Vegas Raiders are going to do with their quarterback position. They were on the verge of making the playoffs. So you got to think about all the coaching that's going to go into it. You're no longer going to have that easy breezy division. And now, it's going to get a little bit tougher. So, I mean, you just can't. Andy Reid is not going to have weak coaches that he could just out-coach every week. It's easy to out-coach Brandon Staley. It's easy to out-coach Josh McDaniels. It's easy to outcoach a lot of these coaches that have been in and out of the Denver Broncos organization. Can you outcoach these guys when they have great teams as well?
It's not even that division, but also but their whole conference in the AFC. You got a lot of teams that are licking their chops that feel like they should have been in the playoffs and gotten the opportunity to play. Shoot, the Dolphins, they going to be ready next time. They're going to feel like, look, they beat us twice. We need to come out stronger next season. The Bills.
They need to play at home. That's what they need to do.
The Bills, that's their kryptonite. They just can't get past the Chiefs. But I can guarantee you they're going to say, we need that one more shot. I mean, shoot, we don't know. The Bills, they turn it on when they feel like it. Other nights, they flop. I think Baltimore, they're going to be another team in the AFC who's going to be like, look, we're not about to get embarrassed again if we get that opportunity. Even if the Bengals ever come, when Joe Burrow's healthy and they come back and make it to the playoffs, they're going to say, hey, look, we need to show the Chiefs why we can beat them. So I think that whole AFC is going to be ready to play Kansas City just to prove a point.
Yeah, not to mention, man, CJ Stroud, he's on the way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. CJ Stroud is not somebody that you can't predict, you can't plan for.
You know,
he makes things happen.
I mean, not to mention, hey, you gotta make the argument. Tank Dell was out during the playoffs. Tank Dell was out during the playoffs. A lot of injured players was out on that offensive side of the ball with CJ Stroud. You gotta ask yourself, hey, what happens if they're in that game? If they beat the number one offense in the league in Cincinnati. Well, Cincinnati, but Cleveland. You got to ask yourself, what if I have my guy who can stretch the field out there against Baltimore?
What if Jacksonville?
I was just about to say Jacksonville. Jacksonville stops playing.
You don't think they? You don't think they have an opportunity?
Or Trevor Lawrence.
Here's the thing. My thing with Jacksonville, though, they play down to their competition. Whenever they play teams that they should be easily, that should be easy wins, they play down to their competition as if they already know they're about to win the game. But when they play against teams that are at their level, that's when they bring their best. So when they played the Bills, yeah, they came in full swinging. But that last game against the Tennessee Titans, they should have won that game in order to solidify that last playoff spot. But it was they played down to the Titans because they was already thinking, well, it's the Titans. Titans ain't playing for nothing. So,
But isn't that the best time to beware of somebody when you ain't got nothing to lose?
Yeah.
I think I can relate to this. Then all of our parents told you don't ever mess with nobody that ain't got nothing to lose.
They coming out with everything.
They coming out swinging. So.
Trick plays.
Yeah, they gonna do everything they can. Oh yeah, we finna go to the play. If I'm not, because you gotta think about it. I'm in your division. If I'm not going to the playoffs, I sure as hell don't want you to go to the playoffs. I want to be responsible for getting you out of there. That's something for me to celebrate and go have a whole glass of wine about. So, yeah. Plus, it's a division game. Why would you not go against your divisional rivals like that?
I don't know. Ask some NFC East teams that they for whatever reason in the last regular game of the season, they'll be like, we just want to sit these players out because we already made the playoffs.
Hey, a lot.
Lose that momentum that you have. It happens.
Yeah.
But all right, guys. We'll have to go ahead and end this today. It's been a great show. Appreciate everybody for coming through. PSP, my man Casual, Anthony B. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you for the questions. Thanks for everything. My man Undisputed. Please go check him out. Undisputed has been doing his thing all week long. 10 shows and still got shows to do tomorrow and Friday.
He probably got a show to do in 30 minutes.
I hope somebody called me to want to do a show about 30 minutes. I'm damn sure gonna show up 8. Take some no-nos and do like we used to do back in the Army days.
Not the no-nos.
No-nos, drink an energy drink. Hey, you do those.
Man.
What we got next week, Wednesday, we got Bears and Bengals off season. So we're gonna see what them two teams, what we feel like them two teams got to get going.
Yes,
All right.
yes. Well, we thank you all for sharing this time with us. This is the Backyard Blitz. Thank you.
All right.